I've not seen anything that bad in a long, long time.
Yeah, the ceiling, the roof is virtually just, there by luck. This is condemned by the city, and if we don't come in and restore it to its natural beauty, they're gonna demolish it.
God, that would be a shame, wouldn't it?
It's a tragedy to see these historical homes just get smashed into rubble.
Welcome back. On the line now, I have real estate mogul and host of The Deed Chicago, Sean Conlon. Hey, how are you, Sean?
Great, thank you. Great to be here in New York.
Yeah, right. Great to be here as well. So tell me about that clip we just played. How often do you work with historical rehabs?
Well, in Chicago, we have a lot of historic buildings. That was a particularly unbelievable one. What was fascinating about that neighborhood used to be where Montgomery Ward's and Sears Roebuck was, which that was the Amazon of the day back in the 1920s. That was where all their distribution centers were. So there were all these incredible historical mansions, but it had fallen in hard times. It would be like if Silicon Valley was gone in 100 years. So historically, it was an amazing neighborhood to work in.
Is preserving the historical buildings of Chicago important to you? And if so, why is it so crucial to you?
Well, so I come, you may be able to tell a little bit by my accent, I come from, as you call it, the old world. And I grew up in a village that was 4,000 years old, the first settlement. So I love old buildings. Most of my really successful projects that personally made me feel good, I didn't make a lot of money on them, were old buildings. I own a 1920s hotel in Chicago. I redid an old funeral home. I did a very beautiful house in Malibu on the beach that I owned, that the designs were used for the Sydney Opera House. So I'm a real fan of historical old buildings.
I need you to bring you over to my apartment and help me out and make it look better. But on The Deed Chicago, you throw a lifeline to developers who find themselves in the red, investing your own money, time, and expertise into their projects in exchange for a stake in the development. What sorts of projects will we get to see you working with in season 2, which premieres tonight?
Well, it's really fascinating. We've gotten so much better in season 2. I'm pretty good at teaching people stuff, not because I'm that smart, but because every single mistake they make, I've made it way beyond they've ever made it. But I have an expression I use very commonly, which is, and very often, there's very little to be learned from the second kick from a mule. So I only make the mistake once. So in the first episode, which was on last week, it's fantastic. Karen is this incredibly cool designer. She designed high-end hotels, along the styles of Nomad, similar to that. And now she's decided to build a brand new house from scratch with her husband. And her taste obviously is way beyond her budget. Tonight you're going to see an episode where he's an incredibly cool guy, Marcello, and he's a redemption story. Marcello was in jail when he was young for gun, I think, related and gang issues or something in Florida. He's the most incredible guy. I invested in him. He's young. He owns tons of properties. It's an incredible story. And he loves old buildings also. So it's fantastic to see his growth. You won't believe it. And then the real surprise in it is Cecilia, who is his girlfriend, who was incredibly modest and didn't say much in the first episode, she ends up being a huge part of the operation and her strength. And you'll see. So we're dominated by strong women in the first 2 episodes.
Well, I love to see that. You were mentioning earlier that you teach people because you've sort of made the mistakes. You've made them 10 times over. What do you find are the most common mistakes developers make?
So a couple of very simple ones. Everybody wants to be a designer. So they buy a house and they put in their Louis Vuitton wallpaper and their bonsai garden. News alert. Nobody's going to pay you for that. The second one is, there's a term I use often, trust but verify. And what I mean by that is, the most common problem I see people run into is contractors, not to disparage all of them because there's some very wonderful ones, and I have one called Lewis, but tend to specialize in being rogues. It's always the contractors who take advantage of people, and you'll see that in every single episode here. It drives me nuts.
I can tell. I see you seething. I'm curious, you're clearly passionate about this. What is it about real estate development that first grabbed your interest initially?
Real estate is a couple of things, but most importantly is it's so incredibly tangible. It's so beautiful. The right piece of real estate is a piece of art. But most importantly for most of your viewers and myself, I was an immigrant who worked as an assistant janitor and I didn't have a penny. it is still the only quickest way, in my opinion, for ordinary people to become extraordinarily wealthy. The odds of you or I becoming Zuckerberg, and I use this line often, but it's a fact, we have a better chance of being hit by a meteorite. But real estate is a step on the ladder, firstly, for everybody in this country to become wealthy. But secondly, the thing we always lose sight of is a home is an incredible thing to own. Forget the investment prospect. You walk into a place at night and you own it. You can design it how you want. And every time you fix it up a little bit, you increase your investment.
Well said, Sean. There is no place like home. I need you to get you to my apartment ASAP. It was a pleasure to have you Skype in with us today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me. It was awesome.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Sean. Season 2 of The Deed Chicago premieres tonight and continues Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. on CNBC.